Campers, it's me, Ari Lehman, the first Jason Voorhees. From Friday the 13th, I'm here with AJ, and he's got the juiciest slice ready for you. It's dripping with blood. Jason never dies.
In horror films, survivors emerge, heroes rise. Among them are the ladies who step up and face the beast, killer, monster, or all three merged into one. What makes some particularly stand out? Let's dive in. If anything about this trips your fancy, please like, subscribe, and share.
Yes, yes.
Let's get to it.
Red River Rock and Roll request line is a stretch.
Scintillating in every way, Our Lady is on fire from the instant she appears on screen.
That's for Glenn. And could you tell the girls at Misty High just to leave him alone? Got it, and I believe it.
Vanita Stretch Brock gets inextricably drawn into the most harrowing events of her life because of a couple of insufferable callers.
Brett, that's the one and only Buzz.
I rigged the brick!
And their obnoxious persistence.
You better stick with us, baby.
Yeah, later, sports. Just hang up, okay?
Earlier, they peeved off the wrong locals.
Hey, check it out, dude. Let's play a little chicken with the farmer here.
Said locals happen to be a pair of cannibalistic brothers, just looking for an excuse to cull from the herd of what they consider free-range walking meat. Fed up with their antics, she's not afraid to get feisty.
Hang up, hang up, hang up!
But still winds up hearing everything. Right until the line finally cuts out.
What? It just cut off.
This whole harrowing event brings out lawman Lefty Enright, whose reputation precedes him.
You know why I'm here.
Yes, there's something about chainsaw killers, your brother's kids killed.
Chalking it up to an accident will limit the paperwork, but Lefty won't turn a blind eye to the evidence.
One of those boys so wild sawed his own head off going 90 miles per hour.
Since the pair's entire murder was recorded, Stretch puts herself right in the thick of it.
This is my chance to stop playing headbanging music and do something real.
And she's not afraid to stick her neck out.
Oh, you want to hear it now?
I want to hear it on the radio.
Maybe not quite realizing just what that means. Too addled for his own good, Lefty drops the ball.
God damn it, Lefty, you're late!
Forcing Stretch to pursue the killers to their lair. Be careful what you ask for. Stretch wanted to find a story that would make her a real journalist, and she ended up falling right into one. Lefty tries to give her a hand. But Stretch is destined to go for a ride. Cruel and different gravity. Delivers her to a macabre funhouse slide. And into a nightmare brought to life. Suddenly thrust into the charnel house of all charnel houses. From here, Stretch is forced to traverse a total hellscape.
Easy, booger. That's all but, bro.
The Texas Battleland is the house from the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre, on the kind of steroids that bulked up the Liver King.
What?
The place is festooned with so much grit, pooled blood, and closet skeletons that it's clear the Sawyers live on a rickety foundation of secrets, but that's okay. They have no problem silencing potential witnesses, especially trespassers.
Told you to go check it out, boy, before I start kicking your ass. Some kind of crazy booger just skits through here.
Doing her best to remain undetected. One wrong move puts her into about the filthiest pair of hands. As all this is underway, Stretch is also dealing with the affections of the kind of tall, dark, and mysterious man women aren't describing when they say they'd like that kind of fellow to sweep them off their feet. Stretch represents a paradigm shift for Leatherface, a blossoming, an awakening, a sudden knowledge of sexual desire, a tearing open of his personal Pandora's box.
Are you mad at me?
She is quite pulchritudinous, but I think there's more to it than physical attractiveness.
How mad at me are you?
Stretch was likely the first woman to address him as an individual.
Can you help me get out of here? Can you help me get out of here?
A person with some agency, and not just a chainsaw-wielding monster.
How good are you?
Bringing about something very different for him. What incredible nerves it took to speak to him that way, not to mention riding out his spasmodic loss of control and the explosion. Well, following his explosion. Most times in horror, when women are under attack by a male aggressor, there's some kind of sexual component driven by anger. But this, beyond that it's much more intimate than your typical slice and dice in lieu of healthy sexual contact dynamic, represents something quite different. Because formidable Leatherface isn't after Stretch because of pent-up sexual rage. His appreciation for her is bizarrely innocent, more exploration than conquest.
It's wet. Put it down.
Forcing his idiosyncrasy upon her. It's pretty clear that if he had his druthers, he would keep the powerless vixen, at the very least as a plaything. More practical killer than abductor, it's interesting how quickly his urges lend to resorting to bondage, not wanting his toy to steal away. A walking malfunction, he's too bonkers for what's between them to ever be more than a bizarre liaison.
Hey, as long as they're consenting adults.
Not able to grasp the simplest concepts, such as dear Stretch's dire need to escape.
Let me go. Let me go.
She's sidled by all kinds of weird sexual underpinnings from an amorous killer, confused by, even scared of, his burgeoning sexuality. Who is completely incapable of helping her and, in fact, leaves her in about the direst circumstances. Not only does Stretch have to face, no pun intended, overwhelming grossness, but the death of a friend, dragged into this abominable situation by her insistence to placate Lefty.
I guess I'm falling apart on you, honey.
Reduced to a slab of meat, LG uses up his life bar to free her. Something I go into detail about in an episode of Extraordinary Exits.
Oh, check it out! Go check it out.
Cut loose, only one of many obstacles has been crossed, because she's basically marooned in the heart of hell, and it's a decaying cesspool.
Bye-bye, you whole wretched. What? That's it again, huh?
It's not like there are any mall-style You Are Here maps to guide her way out of what has to be about the most disgusting labyrinth imaginable. With Lefty caught up in vengeful religious fervor.
Show me what I fear, so I don't fear it no more.
And playing gremlin to the detriment of everyone.
Ow! What the hell was that?
Stretch is forced into taking risks to avoid capture. Bringing her to the attention of the Sawyers.
Did you see it? Well, did you? Didn't you? Didn't you?
The whole structure is a confusing mess of tunnels and tubes, gaudily decorated by crazy people. And nothing about the place is conducive for escape, especially when her pursuers know the lay of the land. Even blindsided, with only one option, she keeps on trucking. Only to end up wrangled due to Lefty's uncontrolled destruction. The star-crossed lovers meet again, but she's not feeling it.
What about me? Listen, this is not gonna work out.
And has to be completely honest.
I'm trying to be open with you. It's nobody's fault. I just can't do this.
Drayton, the cook Sawyer, only views Stretch in regard to how she might be affecting his commerce.
Are you the saboteur that's fucking up our house? Trying to put me out of business?
Seeing women and everything they represent as
The old cock and cut swindle, huh?
all he wants is to be successful and run an above-board business. Well, as above-board as it can be when serving illegally procured long pork out of about the most unhygienic place outside a scat fetish film set.
I love this town. This town loves prime meat.
Drawn by loads of decaying material, how many bugs and rodents would infest the place? Aware it's all a house of cards.
Thousands of dollars lost. You got that kind of money? No!
He sees Stretch as a pest, a pain, an annoyance, an unneeded distraction for a pair of nincompoop brother co-workers on whom he's maybe too reliant.
You've done it again!
Without Lefty inadvertently exposing her, Stretch likely would have evaded Leatherface and the others.
Oh, you both look what your brother's done now! You cooch!
So everything that happens to her in the cannibal family's clutches falls squarely on the vengeful lawman's shoulders.
No!
And things get a whole lot more brutal before his eventual arrival.
You never should have been doing this.
Not exactly a deus ex machina because she was doing fine before Lefty's interference sabotaged her flight.
Let's talk about it! Okay, what, are you pissed off?
The severity of the situation.
Lefty.
Sister.
Lefty.
Necessitates that Stretch be rescued.
Run, sister, run!
Once free, she wastes no time and hot-tails it, leaving Lefty in her wake to deal with Leatherface. With sadistic goofball Chop Top hot on her heels. And her best moves to evade him unsuccessful. She has no choice but to ascend and make a pilgrimage to Chainsaw Heaven. After all she's been through, kooky Chop Top,
You killed her, you hog bitch!
even as he slashes at her wildly, is merely a trifle when she puts her faith in the weapon of his god. This is Stretch spiraling deep into madness, going completely off the deep end. But is it really? Or is it her matching the frenzied psychotic whirlwind in which she has found herself? Since that's maybe the best or only way to get flung out of the vortex of insanity. When she banishes Chop Top into a hell, in part, of his own making. Emerging from the miasma of death and destruction to a state of exaltation, even apotheosis, she asserts her victory, swinging around the chainsaw like she's wielding unassailable power, something like Thor's hammer. How triumphant she truly is might be up for debate. The emotional expenditure of this wholly barely endurable escapade would be steep.
Turned traitor for a piece of tail.
But even if surviving the violent chaos changed the complexion of her entire life, these events wouldn't leave her a gibbering near catatonic, destined to live out her days institutionalized. In fact, she managed to reclaim her life afterward. What proof is there of that? Kind of like roaches. Even if this branch of the Sawyer family tree got snapped off clean, the overarching Chainsaw clan would seemingly survive a nuclear bomb.
It's like those body pits we found up near Dome Tree. Just counting skulls, I say we got 40 or 50 bodies here.
When evidence of their handiwork arises, Stretch appears out of the woodwork. It's no coincidence that I began this series with Stretch, and it's only partially in part because I recently met Caroline Williams. What the character faced and survived, plus the reasons why, makes for a high watermark, and sets the stage for what to expect in this series.
I'm excited.
There are a lot of final girls who surmounted any number of impediments, but only a few are in some way or other pushed to their very limits, forcing them to evolve on the spot, and emerge from cocoons spun around their former selves, as badass butterflies or militant moths.
Well, I'm sincerely glad to hear that, for all our sakes.
That might be pushing it. The criteria really isn't that stiff, since I'm officially getting into the business of creating and assigning an aggregated number based on certain criteria. I will be judging 5 elements on a 1 to 10 scale, what I'll refer to as the Big 5 criteria. These elements are resourcefulness, persistence, quality of character, fear mitigation, and reasoning.
Good man.
The average will determine an overall 1 to 10 score, and don't be surprised if there's a bonus point or two. So let's begin. Stretch's utility in a crisis can't be overstated. From her first direct interaction with a Sawyer, she proved crafty, able to go head-to-head with a bona fide psychopath in Chop Top.
I could maybe make a request and it'd still count, huh?
Sure.
And then dipped and dodged, making him the recipient of the trap he was leading her into.
And maybe the new music's
Thus making a total fool of him, hours before besting him in the final struggle.
Hey, lick my plate, you dog dick!
The truth hurts. With Leatherface, she had the nerve to address him, ultimately gaining a hold on him through her womanly wiles, even if that wasn't her initial intent.
Is that what this is, Baba?
Through engagement, she transformed herself in his eyes from a slab of meat into a sacred cow.
Blasphemer!
In so doing, she made herself a bargaining chip, able to at the very least confuse Leatherface into toothless inaction. at the mercy of brothers who mock him for showing even a hint of mercy.
Bubba likes her. Bubba's got a girlfriend! Bubba's got a girlfriend!
So you know how big of a deal it was for him to spare her. It meant going against the family credo.
You got one choice, boy. Sex or the saw.
The efficacy of Leatherface on his own has always been questionable. But throw in a lady like Stretch and he's all but useless, even willing to slap 5 to sell the lie that he finished her off.
Slap me 5. I got one too!
Weird to think the power to entice Leatherface sexually would lead to the complete undoing of the Sawyers, but such was the power of her hard-rocking mojo.
Time to shut down the show, yeah. Yeah, pull the plug.
Even if ice splashback between her legs turned the situation strangely erotic. It wasn't like she was going out of her way to be provocative when she was suddenly transformed into the lone participant in the wet t-shirt contest of her life. Between her intangible traits and ability to navigate the toughest terrains, I'm awarding Stretch a full 10 for her unmitigated resourcefulness. Sort of a watchdog of rightness, as journalists used to be, not so much anymore. From the moment Stretch realized what she was in the thick of, she stepped up and wanted to shine a light on the quagmire, a truth seeker no matter what the cost, even to her very sanity. When confronted by horrors that could certainly break a lesser person's will,
Peel that pig and slice him thick!
She was never driven to hopelessness, and persevered against all odds. A true torchbearer of the whole final and survivor girl trope, she's the epitome, the apex of the form, and with that comes an unwavering determination.
You're not really mad at me!
Steady in an unsteady situation, the component that makes Stretch a standout is her unwillingness to give in, or knuckle under, even in the worst circumstances. The proof? She snatched great-grandma's chainsaw in a last-ditch effort to reverse her fortunes, drawing even greater wrath from the zany-turned maniacal Chop Top. Yet as he slashed her, she pulled that cord until that chainsaw roared to life, giving her that slight advantage. Tugging that cord with a razor blade cutting into her back, that's persistence. Maybe the biggest piece of evidence, though, was that even driven over the edge, into the realm of insanity, and who can blame her, anyone submerged in the Sawyers' funhouse would be shaken so hard that at least a few of their screws would be loosened. She came back from all that, and carried on the fight into the next film. Even though it's just this one shot, it says a lot about her that she even stayed in the state of Texas. All this makes me feel that once again, Stretch deserves the full 10 for her persistence. Trying to improvise her way out of the meat grinder in which Lefty tossed her, in almost every way Stretch's actions were heroic. Even if being part of a big breaking story would have advanced her career, the potential cost of it outweighed any benefit she might have reaped. Ultimately, she was leveraging her corporeal being. It was more important that her main desire was to expose an enormous evil. Shutting down a business that appropriates human meat for profit is an immeasurable win for good. The whole thing a depraved enterprise in human exploitation.
That's my sweet meat! Them hogs on the grill! Big pre-game lunch tomorrow, mate!
That she even tried to elicit Leatherface's aid reflects her own sense of duty in regard to helping those in need. To her, it's such a no-brainer that she thinks a man-child like Leatherface, reared far removed from normal society and acceptable behavior, the guy was literally engaged in flaying a man, shows how far removed she was from the kind of self-centered mindset driving those who would turn their back on someone in need.
Will you just figure out how to do it and do it. You bend the rules, I don't know.
It would seem that what some would call heroism was simply implicit in her nature. Obviously, she was finely calibrated that way, with an unwavering moral compass. And I would say that justifies her again being awarded the full 10. The well-forged piece of metal doesn't snap the first time it's tested, nor the 100th, and Stretch's capacity to face horrors head-on shows she was tempered into an almost unbreakable alloy. Bombarded from every direction, she was galvanized into action when others might buckle from the crushing pressure of overwhelming fear. It wasn't a matter of rejecting terror, it was a matter of not allowing it to prompt inaction. Thrust into the kind of mind-shattering turpitude that can instantly zap someone into a shell-shocked fugue state, her resilience kept her mind mostly together, always enough to fight, either to her dying breath or that of her attackers. Thus, she was a monument to strength in the face of mind-breaking adversity. Reliant on a survival instinct she may not have known she possessed until it was put to the test, she was able to set her fright aside to always persevere. And for that, this is yet another instance of her receiving the full 10.
I don't think it'd be legal to do that. FCC regulations.
A hurried tempo really put Stretch's survival prowess to the test, and for the most part, once engaged in the insanity, she made as good of decisions as one could, considering. Where she loses points, though, is in some of the decisions that preceded her falling into hell. With big ideas about helping Lefty get somewhere in his quest, she played with fire, the sort that smokes human meat up for.
A ton of croissant sandwiches!
Not exactly tricked into being the catalyst of her own nightmare, she willingly aired the murders over the radio, and should have been smart enough to know what that could mean. For the right reason, she did the wrong things, trusting Lefty to have his shit together enough not to allow violence into her world. But then the path to hell is paved with good intentions.
Like you're, hung up on something crazy, but I believe you. I might be the only believer you got.
In and of itself, a rather reckless decision. It was one thing volunteering to be bait. A case could be made that alone was too rash and hasty, but that by extension LG was also bait, that makes her choice inarguably wrong. LG paid the ultimate price for her gamble, unaware his life was on the line until it was too late.
Come on, Lucky, where are you?
That neither seemed quite aware that playing the tape might incur a visit from the killers showed they were very ignorant of the possible ramifications. Ultimately, the bulk of the responsibility falls on Lefty. He knew, he believed absolutely that dangling Stretch out there like a bloody piece of meat would sure as flies draw the killers. Why was he late? Why was he armed with chainsaws instead of firearms? Texas isn't logging country, it's gun country. And in this case, a big revolver could have solved a lot of problems far more expediently. Okay, there's actually a big logging industry in Texas, but let's be honest, they're more known for their hard pro-gun stance. So much so the knuckleheads at the beginning were picking off signs just for fun, and no one seemed to bat an eye at their rowdy shenanigans. I get the delicious irony, the desire to turn the saw against the chainsaw killers, but Lefty should have known better, that you don't take undue chances merely to fulfill a whim or desire for dramatic flair.
Lord, you show me the end.
All that being said, Stretch probably shouldn't have been so trusting of a guy who looked permanently hungover.
You need a witness? I'm a witness.
Lefty may have been right all along, but after years of grief motivating what had so far been a fruitless investigation, he was also maybe too far off his rocker when his moment finally came.
I'm bringing it down! Down, down!
Reputations don't get destroyed purely from obsessive investigation of an old mystery. It's from ruffling the wrong feathers. That suggests his method of lobbying and campaigning strafed higher-ups, so maybe he should have taken a different tact to gain departmental support, and not depended on a radio DJ to bring about the redemption he so sorely needed.
Takes away my strength.
Stretch also made another tactical error, The decision to get so near the Texas Battleland itself was probably her biggest mistake. Trapdoors are an unpredictable variable, but the place was a defunct amusement park, so the whole property was subject to all manner of concealed underground structure, meaning much like when wandering around an abandoned mine, open shafts or pipes are possible. Once she saw that's where the killers went, that was her cue to get other law enforcement involved. But Lefty, her weakness, prevented her from acting rationally. When all is said and done, for insisting on playing the tape, getting LG pulled in, not going for help when she could, and a handful of other poor choices, Stretch finally loses some points.
Now this is very hard to believe.
Because in the real world, it's really hard to believe true evil will springboard right into your life as if out of nowhere. In some ways, it's understandable she blundered into such danger. But still, a good man died for dumb reasons. Therefore, I feel like, even if it pains me, I can only award Stretch 6 points for her overall reasoning.
Don't skip on the meat. I got a real good eye for prime meat.
You know I wouldn't.
A bonus body!
If being forced to wear a friend's freshly flayed off face as a mask doesn't earn an extra point, no, I don't know what does. Keeping her cool when her nether Yaya could feel the teeth of the chainsaw blade?
You're really good.
Also seems like another moment where an extra point is applicable.
Yep, that stands up to scrutiny.
With all the numbers tallied, 46 from the Big 5 criteria plus 2 bonus points, added up and divided by 5, Stretch receives a respectable final score of 9.6 out of a possible 10. And arguably a top-tier final woman. No disrespect to any of the others, but Stretch is my personal favorite. Sexy, tenacious, tough as nails, and good to a fault. Everything about her screams leading lady heroine. Well, I've about reached the end of the rope, so I won't leave you dangling. Thanks for humoring my ramblings. Please share any refutations, opinions, accusations, japes, or other ideas in the comments below. And please join me for whatever I'm up to next time. Bye now.
Bye, creepy man! Keep it creepy!
He's a weird guy.
Goodbye. Good night.
Sex is, nobody knows.
Good night.
But the saw is family.
Good night.